Hi everyone, my name is Salia and welcome to Hustle Season. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the Julie and the Phantoms book tag, which I'm so excited for because like everyone else who has done this tag, I have been obsessed with the show. Anyways, it is created by Peyton from Peyton Reads as well as Brittany and books. If you don't know, Julie and the Phantoms is this TV show. It's based on a Brazilian show. It is magnificent. It is like old school kind of 90s TV show vibes. I stole that from my friends who I made recently rewatch the show. So it's been corroborated by at least 3 people. If you've seen Teen Angel, the premise is very similar in that it is teenage boys who eat some sketch food and then basically die and then they come back as ghosts. Julie and the Phantoms deals with a bit heavier topics though in my opinion because Julie is facing the loss of her mom. Basically, these ghosts come back and they help Julie like rekindle her love for music. Oh, and I guess I forgot to mention, the ghosts, when they're singing with Julie, they can be seen and they can be heard. So they kind of also need Julie to like live out their dreams of success and whatnot. And anyways, it's a symbiotic relationship between Julie and the Phantoms. It's just wonderful. You should watch it. It's great. Okay, so let's just get right into it. I am going to pull up the questions real quick.
By advertising on YouTube,
okay,
I catch the eye of
Question 1 is Julie. She's the main character. Duh. Name a character that goes through a hard time but comes out on the other end stronger than ever. When the show starts, Julie has just lost her mom. She hasn't been singing for about a year because of that. She struggles through the grief and ultimately, I mean, I don't know how she comes out stronger, but she comes out stronger. The first time I heard her voice, like she had the voice of an angel. It was so good. I remember being so shook. I just didn't expect it to be like as good as it was, and I think that was the moment where I was like, okay, fuck it, like I'm gonna watch this whole show. The music is great, the acting and the jokes and whatnot are a little bit cheesy at times, but it gets better. All that to say, the first person that came to mind immediately was Yona of the Dawn, but I've seen that as an anime. I never actually read the manga, but it does exist. But then I was like, you know what, that's not fair, and so I decided to go with Rachel Watts from Every Breath. I don't know the name of the series, but anyways, the first book is called Every Breath. It's a trilogy by an Australian author. They are a modern day Sherlock and Watson retelling, and they are just so good. They definitely don't get as much love as they deserve. Rachel Watts in particular, her character, she's like the modern day Watson. At the beginning of the book, she's just moved from a small town to Melbourne, and so she's definitely feeling a bit like a country bumpkin in the big city, and she's just struggling to adapt. Like her clothes aren't cool enough. She's used to being on the farm. She doesn't like using not the TTC but like the local transport of that area. I just remember reading it and being like, this is such a random layer that's been added to the story that wasn't necessarily needed, but it's just this like fun layer of complexity. And I remember really being touched by her story because she goes through a lot of struggles, at least in the first book. But then if you continue with the series, like book 2 really makes her struggle, and then book 3 is her like coping with what happens in book 2. And so even if you continue the series, I felt like you constantly see Rachel having to grow and adapt to new situations, and she is an incredibly strong character. I haven't even seen that many people talk about the book series, and I don't know why, because there are a lot of Australian booktubers, and I think that the book would at least be like better marketed in Australia, because I know for sure the 3rd book was never actually published in North America. It's a struggle. Question number 2, name a character who is more than what meets the eye. Luke is the like main ghost. He's definitely the motivation of the group. My friend put it so accurately when she was like, why does he have like the face of a young Justin Bieber but the body of like a well-developed 25-year-old male? And it's so accurate. But anyways, I digress. As a character, he's so sweet. He is so supportive of everyone around him, and I'm guessing that what they're referring to is when you find out a bit more about his relationship with his parents. Before he dies, he has left things on a bad note with his parents, and there is one episode where we finally get to hear the song Unsaid Emily, and if you are not in tears by the end of that episode, like you do not have a heart. That one really hit feels. That one was so good. I have listened to Unsaid Emily so many times. I should answer the question. For Luke, I chose, so the character that I thought was a bit more than meets the eye, I went with Peter from the Divergent series. That may or may not be a controversial pick, I don't know, but basically I felt like Peter throughout the series he doesn't change like his alliances, but he kind of like sometimes acts like a horrible antagonist, and then other times he's like supporting, what's our main girl's name? Tris. I feel like because he never, like, you never really know why he's doing what he's doing, and he kind of has his own motives. I don't remember if we ever really explore his backstory, but he definitely is more complicated than first meets the eye. I felt like it probably didn't help that Miles Teller then played him, because then I was like, you know? I mean, nobody in the Divergent series is like a full fleshed out 3D in color character. So I wouldn't go so far as to say that he's like a nuanced antagonist, but he's definitely not just your paper, I don't know what the word is, cookie cutter antagonist. So I'm gonna go with Peter. Our next question is, Alex, name your favorite comfort character. So Alex is probably one of my favorite characters, period, on the show. I love the pink hoodie. If you've ever watched behind the scenes footage, the actor Owen, there's the one where he's just like, Savannah, who plays Carrie, they're doing one of their dances and he's just like walking around and like trying to mess it up and stuff, and it's great. And it doesn't make sense when I say it, but basically he seems funny is what I'm trying to say. My favorite comfort character, so for that I went with, Christian Ozera from the Vampire Academy. I just really like Christian Ozera, and I also think he doesn't get enough love, but I also wasn't on booktube when Vampire Academy was big, so maybe he did get tons of love and it's just since died down. Christian Ozera is like one of my favorite, at least male characters in YA books. I feel like he is one of the few who isn't like a hardcore alpha male type, but he's not like a pushover. He's kind of like Kristoff from Not Let It Go. Frozen. He's nice, but like can kind of hold his own, and he still will do what he wants to do, but he's just not an asshole about it. I feel like it's so rare to have characters like that who are male. Like usually we're getting the like dark, brooding, alpha male, just annoying, toxic masculinity. The definition of a comfort character in my mind is very vague, so I don't really know how else to justify that. Okay, the next question is Reggie. Name your favorite comic relief character. So I don't generally like when the character is funny because they're stupid. I don't want to say I think it's lazy. I just like feel like you shouldn't be laughing at stupid people. You know what I mean? It just feels a little weird. But anyways, there's a YouTube video where he and his like now wife, basically they do like a small ballet session, and it's really cute, and at the end he does like 10 seconds of a part of the Nutcracker, and it's really cute. If you can't tell, I've watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff for them. It's not like I'm obsessed or anything. Okay, so but for Reggie, my first go-to was gonna be Kenji from the Shatter Me series, but I'm pretty sure Peyton answered that one. Then I was like, let me try to think of books that have even made me laugh, and there are not that many. I ended up going with Keith from Keeper of the Lost Cities. I'm not 100% sure that I've ever laughed at something Keith has said or done, but he gives me the vibe of someone who in real life would be making me laugh. He does like to do pranks, like Sophie will be trying to actually like practice something, like whether it's like her telepathy or whatever she's trying to practice, and then he'll make some kind of like romantic remark that's like half a joke. You know what, if you read the series you know what I'm talking about, but Keith has definitely had a lot of moments where he's lightened the mood. Plus I really like him and I ship him the most with Sophie, so I'm just gonna put him in there. Okay, next question. So Flynn is name a book with a strong female friendship. I had to think about that one because I feel like there are quite a few good female relationships that I know of that are on television, but not necessarily as many in books, which is kind of sad. So for this one I'm gonna go with The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I think you cannot deny that literary fiction will do relationships between characters way better than any young adult book can. So I felt like this was a really good pick. I also thought this was good because it's not just one set of female friends that I think was really touching, but there's actually like one in the middle and one towards the end, and both of them are so nuanced, and there's just so much about each character's history that affects the way they interact. And it's not necessarily the strongest female friendships I've seen out there, but it does them in such a like complicated, realistic way that I definitely thought this would be the book for that pick. Anyways, I highly recommend the book. If you don't know what it's about, just really quickly, it's basically these two twins who are black, but they're from this city where they're so light-skinned that most of them at least are white passing, and so one of them decides to like marry a white guy, move to this other town, and like live like a rich white woman, and the other one marries a darker man, and basically they contrast like the lives of the two of them. It is really good if you want to check it out. The next question is Willie. Name an anticipated release you would sell your soul for. I will say it's interesting because obviously you're not supposed to like Willie because he's the antagonist. But as I was watching this show was when my friend Andrew kind of pointed out how in many times, like in Disney films and basically in a lot of media, the antagonist will have characteristics associated with gay men, or they'll be like made to be more queer. The subtle subtext of that, or I guess not even the subtle subtext, the subtext of that and like what it's implying is obviously horrible. And as he was saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, like the show that I'm currently watching definitely does that. I definitely think that Willie, he acts more flamboyant than the other characters. And it was kind of upsetting because there is a gay character on the show, Alex, who acts like a regular kid who just happens to be gay. And then they wanted to associate like the stereotypical things that people associate with being gay with bad guy, whereas the gay kid who is not the antagonist is more like quote-unquote normal. Anyways, it just didn't sit with me that well, so I wanted to bring it up and at least kind of be mindful of it going forward. But anyways, to answer the question, the short answer is no. I think if there's one thing that residency has taught me, it is to just not care all that much. I definitely wouldn't sell my soul for anything at this point. I think in general, like this whole year, my reading has been a bit of a struggle in terms of finding something that I'm even obsessed with. This show and Cobra Kai have been some of the few obsessions I've had this year. Speaking of, we should totally do a Cobra Kai book tag. If anybody wants to make that, I will 100% do it. Yeah, there's just been no series that I'm actually obsessed with that like I would need the next one in. The next question is Nick. So name a book you used to like but changed your mind about. So Nick is your average white boy in a high school who is popular. Does he have a personality? Who knows? But he's kind of sweet, I guess. My choice for this question would 5,000% have to be The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. So if you don't know, I think it was the author's daughter who came out basically and said that her and the father and maybe some other people, I don't know the exact details, but basically that they were molesting children for like many years. I feel like a lot of people who loved her work were very upset by this news, especially because her work was such a like feminist piece of literature in comparison to everything else that was out there at the time. So if you didn't know, she wrote this book called Mists of Avalon, but basically it is one of, I don't know if it's still the only one, but it was definitely like the only one at the time to give you the story of King Arthur and that whole legend, but from the point of view of the woman, Morgan Le Fay, who is usually portrayed as the villain. But basically she took that whole villain story and just kind of gave it new life, and throughout the story there are so many themes of like feminism and paganism versus Christianity, among so many other things, and it's this heartbreaking, really great read, to be honest. And as a young girl, like when I was writing I had to write basically an essay comparing like different works that look at the same type of lore, and I wanted to do King Arthur. I had chosen to do T.H. White's book at the time, and I was looking for one other one to compare with, and then I stumbled upon this one. Compared to all the other ones, like this one was the only one to me that sounded somewhat more interesting, and as a young girl I was like, damn, like this whole book about King Arthur but from the point of view of this woman, it was like so cool. And yeah, I think a lot of girls who did eventually read that book also felt the same way, so it was kind of a shock to then find out that she was a child molester. It feels weird to now recommend the book because there are scenes in the book that, like, knowing what we know now about Marion Zimmer Bradley, can be read in slightly different ways. It used to be one of my favorite books, and now I can't really recommend it, and now I don't think of it the same way, and I've held off on rereading it for a while now because of that. Yeah, I'd just be conflicted either way. Like, what if I read it and I still loved it, you know? I guess it's like that whole debate of the artist versus the art and how you're going to interact with them, but I personally think it's really hard to not include the artist in that discussion. All that to say that I no longer really recommend the book or talk about it all that much, but it's definitely one of the books that I changed my mind about. Next question is Ray. Name a book with a supportive family or parents. For this book, I chose, I forget the dad's name, but The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu. I felt like the dad in that book gave me a similar vibe to Ray, just as the character. I can't remember what his other half is. He's like half Korean, I want to say half Portuguese, or no, half Brazilian. He makes this food truck basically where he combines the foods together. Also, he's a single dad raising kids, and that is a struggle. So next we have Carlos. So name a book featuring ghosts. This question was probably the hardest on the list. Like, I had to think really hard to even find a book with ghosts in it that wasn't a spoiler or that wasn't like a total side character. And I ended up going with, I know I've already spoken about Vampire Academy on this video, but I ended up going with Shadowkissed, which is the third book in the Vampire Academy series, because A, it's my favorite book in the series, and ghosts play a fairly prominent role in that book. The whole book is about Rose suddenly, our main character, she starts seeing ghosts and she doesn't know why, and she like kind of keeps it hidden from all of her friends. The whole book is her trying to solve this mystery of why she is seeing these ghosts with like increasing intensity and frequency. And anyways, it's my favorite in the series. The next question is, Carrie, name a book that always seems to have the spotlight on booktube. Let me just say that while Carrie is a total bish to both these girls on the show, since watching the show and now listening to the music, Carrie's songs are kind of like really good. Like some of the lyrics, I'm like, you know what, this girl's just kind of a badass. Like she's a little bit mean to people, but maybe we're just hating on her because she's like super confident. I mean, she is super rude, but you know, we shouldn't take away that, like, to be a young girl at that age and have that level of confidence, like that is a miracle in and of itself. Okay, so these are some of her lyrics, okay? When I grow up, I want to be me. In my own goals, just talking honestly. Must have won the lottery. Ain't no one as hot as me. Stealing looks, it's robbery. Everywhere I go, all eyes on me. I'm kind of obsessed with these lyrics. And there's a few other ones. I only lead, I never follow. I never open because it's my show. Don't know if people think I'm shallow, but all I see is all eyes on me. Not trying to brag, but I'm flawless. I'm taking over your playlist. Like, it's like this perfect combination of maybe a child wrote these, but also like has the confidence of like a 40-year-old woman, and I am living for it. So I kind of like Carrie. The other thing is that the actress who plays Carrie, Savannah, she is like such a great dancer, and if you watch any of the behind the scenes stuff, you will know. There's one video in particular where they all have to do a TikTok challenge, so they get a minute and they're sent some kind of like TikTok dance challenge, and then they just have to do it on a whim. And she fucking slays. Like, she does so well on that. I really like her, and I really hope that she gets a redemption arc in the next season if it gets renewed, because she could be such a cool character in my opinion. Anyways, for my answer, what was the question? Oh, a book that always seems to have spotlight on booktube. So obviously, like, if you watch booktube, you already know, so I don't know why I need to answer this question, but if I had to pick one currently, it'd probably be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which I don't actually plan on reading at the moment. And I think some other really big ones that I've for sure noticed was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, for sure was huge. Akkomath, I also felt like at the end of 2016, 2018, whatever year it was that Akkomath came out, I think every single person's wrap up had that book on it. So, and then I think I'm on the last question, which is, Bobby, name a series you trusted but ultimately let you down in the end. For this, I only have one answer. I only ever have one answer, and that is without a doubt the Winners trilogy. First of all, the first two books, absolutely amazing. Like, I read the first one when it came out, then I read the second one, and then I waited for a year. I waited for a year for the third one, and I have never in my life been so angry at a book or at an author or at a series, because the third one just ruined everything. Like, it literally ruined all the build-up from the first two books, was trying to come to this one point, and I won't ruin it for people in case you want to read the books, but the author basically uses a trope that makes everything that has happened like for nothing, because it doesn't really lead to anything, and I've never been so angry in my life. I've never been so unsatisfied with a third book. I have never felt so cheated in my life. I know that it's really extreme, but I was like genuinely so angry. And the worst part is that I can't even really tell you what I'm upset about, because it's a huge spoiler and it's book 3, and I don't want this to be a spoiler filled thing. So I can never really tell people, because what if they decide they want to read it, you know? That whole experience was very frustrating, and none of my like close friends have read the book. Nobody that I know has read the book. So I've never even really gotten to like talk to somebody one-on-one about how absolutely cheated I felt by that third book. But clearly I still have a lot of emotions around that. So yeah, I choose The Winner's Curse, or I choose The Winner's Trilogy. The first two books are absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend them, and you should just ignore the third one and maybe read a fan fiction, or like message me and I will make up what should have happened and send it to you. And you tell me if you have watched the show, what was your favorite song and why? Ooh, my favorite has probably been the Now or Never, which is the opening song that they play when they're still alive in the 90s. And I really like Perfect Harmony because apparently I learned this behind the scenes as well, but apparently like Charlie and Madison wrote that together. And I was like, that is so cute. I'm not obsessed with Charlie's hair in the clip of that song, but I am obsessed with the song. Thank you to Peyton and Brittany for making the tag, and thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!